Morning, Knicks Nation. Today's Tuesday, the 20th of January, 2026. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. Hope your family is safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in health along with first responders, always trying to save lives. Those that pick up garbage, keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children, victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People helping those that are victims of prostitution, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that create the demands that cause these industries to exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, military veterans, homeless in the United States of America, and numbers are increasing, more than millions outside the states as well. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There was a basketball game at Madison Square Garden last night. The Dallas Mavericks defeated the New York Knicks by 17. It was embarrassing. This is the first time in a while that the Knicks had the full contingent. They were down by as many as 30 over the course of the game. And in these situations, this is the situation. The Knicks had their full contingent. The Dallas Mavericks did not. They were missing most of their rotation pieces. The Knicks played uninspired basketball. And this is on Coach Brown. It's on Coach Brown. You cannot, a lot of people are blaming Karl-Anthony Towns. We'll get to him in a second, but it's not Karl-Anthony Towns' fault. The Knicks have lost their edge. They had an edge under Tom Thibodeau. And I saw it, and this is what I wanted, but a lot of people were whining and complaining about Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau only had Karl-Anthony Towns for less than a training camp. He didn't have him for a full training camp. And he took that team to the Eastern Conference Finals. You fire Tom Thibodeau, and you bring in this guy that's smiling, laughing, and so-called collaborating, and he's smiling, laughing, and so-called collaborating while we're losing by 30. While we lose 9 out of 11 games. That's more than just the mid-season tired legs. That's unprepared. That's poor coaching. That's unmotivating. See, a coach is supposed to motivate, have his team prepared. One thing you could say about Thibs, he was always prepared. Okay, they didn't always execute, but he was always prepared. This coach, not so much. What we saw yesterday was the worst game of the season. And I just said that like 2 weeks ago when this whole losing streak started. But it was the worst game of the season. Jalen Brunson went into ball hog mode. And that's what happened was Dallas was getting a lot of 32-2 was the fast break points at one point in the game. And that was because Jalen Brunson was using the clock, taking one shot, Dallas getting the rebound and running. And they was going to the hole with no resistance. So they were getting in the paint. Again, the only player that had a positive was Deuce McBride. The only two players that actually came to play were Deuce and Mitch Rob, who was dominating the boards in offensive glass. Everybody else was in a funk for whatever reason. Even OG. He played all right, but OG, McCall, Josh Hart, they couldn't guard anybody. Dallas was getting anything they wanted. One of the worst things, though, is how you going to let Max Christie, after you've been stung by dudes all going back in this streak, different dudes been going off, how you going to let Max Christie have wide open threes? That's the problem. There was nobody near him. Then Klay Thompson was looking like Klay of 10 years ago. And so that's on coaching. That's coaching right there. One thing, Thibs took this same starting five and developed a tough reputation with the same starting five for toughness, so that when you played the Knicks last year, you knew you was going to have to be physical. That's why everybody's physical now. That's why Detroit was physical in the playoffs, because the Knicks set that tone. Now, people getting physical and the Knicks crumbling. And that's on the coach. Now, this is the real. Even though the Don messed up, I give it, I'm Don. I call him the Don because he plays three-dimensional chess, but he messed up on this one. We should have kept Tom Thibodeau. You do not fire a coach that takes you to the Eastern Conference Finals in his 5th season. Starting from scratch, starting with Reggie Bullock and Elfrid Payton, he ends up in the Eastern Conference Finals with Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. Now, if you're going to fire him, you better make damn sure that you get somebody in here that's going to take you to the next step. The problem with Brown, and we mentioned this last summer, Brown has a history of his teams not playing defense. They all can play offense. He had a couple of good years with Cleveland, but that was young LeBron and all defensive players around him. This ain't that situation. When he was with the Kings, he lost the Kings because they played no defense. And so this year, you got a better team. You got a total better team in every position on the Knicks right now. And you can't play no defense. That's on him. He should be fired, but he's not going to be. Why? They're still paying Thibodeau $30 million that they owed him. That was a dumb move. And they just signed Brown to a 5-year guaranteed deal, which he's in the first year. Now, this is the thing. Somebody was asking me, when do you start to panic? I never panic about the Knicks. I don't panic about anything. Panic is stupid. For what? What's that going to do for you? Nothing. But what's going to really happen is they're going to trade Cat. And the reason is really 2 reasons. Number one, the number one reason is not his performance. And a lot of people, I'm going to ice people. Don't come on my channel talking about some numbnuts came in about number 32. We can never win a chip. That's not the problem. When you got Cat, the New York Knicks got Cat with a 4-year window. Thibs was the first year, and Brown is the second year. Why? Because that's his contract. You fit him in your slot at the big contract he had because you're going to use a 4-year window to win a championship. This is only year 2. So why am I talking about Cat then? Because Brown, unless they're going to fire Brown and bring back Thibodeau, and you know what? And this is the only thing really they could do if they were going to do the coach thing. Because if you get Taylor Jenkins right now, Taylor Jenkins ain't had a training camp. Thibs knows these guys, right? So if you brought Thibs in, he fit like a glove and just start from scratch. But and I believe Thibs was learning at the end of last season to play 9 guys. And but you wouldn't see no Koleks, you wouldn't see no Portis. Thibs would stick with 9 guys. But I don't think they're going to do that. Usually in these scenarios, the coach does get the axe. But I don't think they're going to do that. I'd be surprised. They're going to trade Karl-Anthony Towns because he's owed $50+ million this year, $50+ million next year, and $61 million in the 3rd season after that. So that they can take that money out and they can get in a Hartenstein. That's the move. Okay? There's only a couple of guys, because what you're going to need, you don't need you don't need to bring Mitch Robb into the starting lineup. Mitch Robb is fitting perfectly coming off the bench with the second unit. Perfectly. So all you got to do is you got the second unit locked down. Mitch, Deuce, Shamet, you got that locked down. Jordan Clarkson, you just need a Yabusele replacement, and we mentioned Sadiq Bey and we mentioned Precious. You just need a replacement for Yabusele, but that's a cheap move. With Towns, you move 50, and you could bring back 30 in the form of Hartenstein. If you do that, you saving money now. You could pay everybody that you need to pay, Deuce, and you got a better center that fits. This is the problem. It's not that Hartenstein's better than Karl-Anthony Towns. This is the problem. Mike Brown is the wrong coach for Cat. That's the problem. Mike Brown is the wrong coach for Cat. Cat needs a disciplinarian coach. That is why Thibs took them to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Thibs wasn't having it. And Thibs is a disciplinarian, and even with vets, he loves vets, but he's going to be hard on everybody. He took him to the finals. You got a soft guy. Everybody's talking about the Knicks are soft. The softness is in the coach. That's the softness. This is the same team that went to the conference finals last year. They weren't soft. They weren't soft last year. So what's the difference? It's the coach. Okay? So all of this collaboration and playing 9 guys and everything, cool. But they losing. See, it's all good when you're winning. But when you lose in 9 out of 11, that's big time. See, it's a 3-game losing streak, even a 4-game losing streak, even a 5-game losing streak. But 9 out of 11 in the soft part of the schedule now, they were completely out of sync. It wasn't working. So what I'm saying overall, just to give you the synopsis here, because this is not going to be long. This is short and to the point. I couldn't even. Anyway. They need to fire Mike Brown and bring back Tom Thibodeau. He's free. Okay? Dolan gonna have to eat that money. But they're not gonna do that. They're gonna trade Cat and they're gonna try to get Hartenstein. And the reason Hartenstein fits better is because he's more seamless than Cat. He don't need touches. See? You can give more touches to Jalen Brunson, to Deuce, to OG, to McCall. You can give them more touches. Your defense becomes better automatically because Hartenstein's a defensive player. And so he's not an offensive player that Cat is, but he's a tough, roughneck defensive dude. Then you bring Mitch Rob off the bench behind him, and you got a good situation here. There's only a couple of guys that could fit that bill. Somebody that's a defensive anchor. It's raining men in Milwaukee. I know everybody's looking at Giannis, and I'm not saying they can't get Giannis, but if I'm Milwaukee, I don't want Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm trying to do what the Knicks trying to. I'm trying to shed salary. Okay? So I don't want Karl-Anthony Towns. So we'd have to do 3 teams, and that's difficult. 3-team trades are extremely difficult in the NBA. Extremely difficult to get done. Okay? So I don't know if they could do that. So I'm not realistically, if the Knicks were to get Giannis, okay, that's a whole different thing right there. Because the reason is, guys like Giannis, guys like Hartenstein are tough dudes. Ain't no soft coach gonna mess them up, okay? But Brown is not good for Cat. He's too soft. He's not good for Cat. He's not good for the Knicks. He's too soft on all of them. And the reason that they have any toughness is because the toughness is already there with Brunson and Harden. But he's too soft. It's not. Y'all keep saying the Knicks are soft. The Knicks are not soft. The coach is soft. And his softness is trickling to the team. That's the problem. So what I would rather do right now, I'd rather wait. I'd fire Brown. I'd write the season off. Not that I would tank it, but I'd fire Brown and I'd bring in Taylor Jenkins. Or I'd bring in back. And I don't know if they got, see, you got to swallow a lot of pride to bring back Thibs. But I'd do it. I'd bring him back. And we'd have the understanding he's going to play 9, not 5, not 6 or 7, 9. And so we have that understanding. And he has the team. This team, except for Cat, this team is Thibs' team. This is Thibs' thumbprint all over this team. Except for Cat. Cat they brought in place of Juju. I don't know if Thibs was with that. But aside from that, this is a Thibs team. It's built for a Thibs style. So that works. But I would fire Brown. I would keep Cat. I would let the season play out. And now you bring back Thibs or I bring Taylor Jenkins and then who they should have hired in the first place if they're going to fire Thibs. But whatever. I know people are going to be hollering for Mark Jackson. Stop fantasizing. It's not going to happen. They didn't even bring him to the reunion last weekend. What you think? They're going to hire him? Stop. I know we love Mark Jackson, but let's not get caught up in fantasy. This NBA 2K ain't working. We either going, so they got 2 ways to go here. I would fire Brown. I didn't like him in the beginning because of his reputation of being soft on defense, and I'm a defensive dude. I didn't like that they fired Thibs because all y'all was whining and complaining. But in some of the play, and that's the thing, players in a sense are like children. You can't do something for a child because a child is whining. You don't give them everything they want. Okay, put it that way. You don't spoil a child. Like with the Nets, Durant and Irving talking about they can coach the team. You see how that went. You can't let the prisoners run the asylum. Okay, you gotta have a coach that takes control. Thibs is that type of dude. And if they brought him back on a 5-year deal, we get this chip now. But that's what I would do. I would fire Brown, write this season off. I try to bring back Thibs or I bring in Taylor Jenkins. Taylor Jenkins, you can't expect much because he didn't have a training camp. But this is his type of team too. Both of them are available. I would not trade Cat, but they're going to probably try to trade Cat. They probably are because of the money. It's not Cat, it's the money. It's the money. It's always the money. People don't recognize the money. They try. Everybody that gets traded, people be looking at it like, oh, he must have stunk. No, he didn't stink. Cat still can't be guarded. But you got the wrong coach for him. You got the wrong coach for him. Okay? You need a tough coach for Cat. Cat performed at his highest level under Thibs, both in Minnesota and in New York. He needs a disciplinarian. Okay, and you add him to Brunson. If you recall, last year, OG's trying to tell Cat to play some damn defense. He's starting to talk back, and then here come Brunson, tell Cat to shut the hell up. That's a trickle down effect of the Thibs. That's the Thibs effect right there. Okay, so if you're asking me, fire this dude and go get a tough nut like a Cat or Taylor Jenkins, and let's move on with life. Or if you're going to trade Cat, which I don't want to do, I'm trying to get Hartenstein. I'm going to Oklahoma City. Hartenstein hurt right now. Oklahoma City is rolling with Hartenstein in street clothes. I try to push that. But they're going Sam Presti. He ain't no rip-off artist, but he ain't stupid either. So he be asking for stuff. So we have to see how we do this. Because that would be tough. It would be easier to get Hartenstein in the off-season. So I might just let this flow and let it go. And in the off-season, try to get him as a free agent. I'd be planning to trade Cat as soon as I could by the trade deadline now and clear that money. Give me even Mitch Rob. Let somebody start in there, and then we move back. We move from there. But I'm trying to get Hartenstein in the summer because he's going to be available, and so and that's going to be less money. We could pay him $30 million a year. That's saving $20 million. That's what I would try to do if I was going to try to trade Cat. But I'd rather not trade Cat. I still think we could win a chip with him. We just got the wrong coach for Cat. See, if you're going to get a Karl Anthony Towns, you got to get the right coach. You see, one more thing I wanted to say. Like an example, there was a guy named, I think his name was Westhead. He was the coach of the Lakers when Magic was drafted. He was the wrong coach for Magic. He was the wrong coach. They had some success, but him and Magic, it just didn't work out. Lakers weren't playing to their optimal. Then they brought in Pat Riley, and guess what? 5 chips. You got to get the right coach for your star player. Cat is the dude we want the ball to go through his hands. Brunson hogged the ball last night too much. He took 24 shots. And in my view, he took about 6 or 7 too many. And he wasn't passing, he was dribbling too much. That needs to be addressed. I mean, permanently. And apparently, I gave Brown the assumption that he addressed it. I don't think he did. Because that shouldn't have happened last night. Brunson came out the locker room shooting. One shot, done, they running the other way for a layup. One time, it was McCall, and I want to say it was Cat. It looked like they was getting back on defense. They're going Dallas outran them down the floor, got a layup. While they was this is off their made bucket. No. This ain't going to work. And that's why I'm glad they were booing last night. I felt like booing too. I stay quiet. When the game is like this and I'm by myself, I'm just quiet because I'm boiling mad. I just try to chill. And I ain't trying to get all emotional like that. You know, I ain't no woman. But, not against woman, but I ain't going to get like that. So, look. Either fire Brown, call Thibs' agent, get him back here. Fire Brown, get Taylor Jenkins' agent, get him in here. Or you're going to have to trade Cat and try to get Hartenstein this summer. Try to get him now because Oklahoma City will be losing him for nothing. And that's why they won't want Cat because they losing Hartenstein because of the $181 million tax bill they would have if they exercise this player as his team option. They're not doing that. So they ain't going to want Cat. You're going to have a third team involved here. And so that's how this is going to roll. And there's teams that would be interested in Cat. I'm sure Orlando would be interested in Cat because they got the team around him that would do it. You know, they got Jamal Mosley, who is a Thibs type coach. That would work. So I could see Orlando. They'd have to move some players. They'd have to move off of Wendell Carter and somebody else, but that would work there. I could see Orlando it working there. And there's a couple other teams it would work. You know, you got to have the right coach, though. Jamal Mosley is the right type of dude for a Cat. Brown is not. He's just not, okay? So I would prefer them fire Brown and eat that money. They shouldn't have hired him in the first place and go get a real defensive coach. Like I said, you got Thibs and you got Taylor Jenkins available. Thibs built this team. I would go call him, swallow my pride, call homie, say, listen, man, let's revisit this thing. Because this ain't working. Anyway, y'all enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I'm having trouble enjoying mine because that was horrendous. Anyway, shalom.